Update: I exposed my narcissistic and abusive father to his in-laws. Original post: my parents had me extremely young. They were back and forth for years until my mom got pregnant with my younger sister and found out my dad was essentially living a double life. During the time they were together, my dad was very abusive towards my mom in almost every way. One of my very first memories was my dad holding down my mom in our living room and repeatedly hitting her while I was curled up in a corner screaming at him to stop hurting her. Once my sister was born, he pretty much abandoned us. He job hopped frequently or would go without a job for a long time. He never paid child support and always missed his visitations with us, to the point the judge revoked his visitation rights and he was facing felony charges for being so far behind in child support. Despite this, the few times a year I did see him, he always had a car, brand new flat screen TV, the newest phone, etc. As I got older, I would hear from him maybe once or twice a year and sometimes would go a year or two without so much as a text. He did eventually get his head out of his behind in his 30s and went to college and now has a successful career. I actually reconnected with him for a few months a few years ago while I was finishing up college. But that didn't last long as he began crap-talking my mom, the woman who raised me and my sister by herself. Put herself through college, worked 2 jobs to make sure my sister and I had all we needed and got to do the things we wanted, etc. He tried a classic deadbeat BS about how your mom kept me from you guys. I called him out and started spitting facts about how I remember waiting at our meeting spot for him to come get us, just for him not to show up. How I had the same phone number since I was 10 years old, and he would never reach out, even after I turned 18, and so on. My dad is a textbook narcissist to the T. And as you can imagine when confronted with facts, he did not like that at all. In his mind, it's everyone's fault but his. He messaged me soon after and told me he wished my mom would have gotten rid of me when she had a chance. That was the last time I've ever spoken to him, and that was 4 years ago. Around the time I briefly reconnected with my dad, he started dating a woman who I only met once. She seemed nice, but my dad was around the entire time, so I couldn't warn her of his true nature. I could also tell that she was smitten with him, and probably wouldn't have believed me even if I told her because my dad is a master manipulator. And I knew he had told her a sob story of how my mean mom kept him away from his children and turned us against him. They ended up getting married a few years ago after I cut him out of my life for good, and they had a daughter who is now a toddler. Now, my younger sister and I are thicker than thieves and are always together, so it does sadden me that I will more than likely never have a relationship with my other sister. Now to the outing part. About a month ago, I got a Facebook message from a woman I didn't know. She said she was my dad's mother-in-law and basically shamed me for not attempting a relationship with my sister. Mind you, I am in my mid-20s with my own life and she's 3. She also said that now that I am an adult, maybe I could have a mature conversation with my dad and try and see things from his perspective. It may change the way you feel about him. Now, I knew that no matter what I told her, she wouldn't believe me. My dad is too charming and too good at playing the victim. So instead, I asked her for her address so I could show her something. I sent her a 20-page letter about all the reasons I didn't have anything to do with my dad. I detailed the maltreatment I had witnessed, how he cheated on my mom and left us with no money living out of her car, how he never showed up for his visits, etc. I detailed times he promised he would pick up or take me somewhere, just to not show or even have the decency to call. I then went through my mom's records and made copies of the court documents, showing he had missed every single visitation for 2 years, and he no longer had visitation rights. Documents showing he was $25,000 behind in child support, and was facing felony charges and jail time. Documents showing where he had asked the judge if he could sign all the rights to his children over so he won't have to pay. I also got printouts of old police records where my dad had beat up my mom. There was over 8 records of this. And got pictures my grandma had took of my mom after I beat her. I also sent a printout of messages my dad had sent my mom, like the time she asked if he could help buy my sister and I winter coats, and he responded, "I'm not doing anything for you. They can freeze." And I also added his text about how my mom should have aborted me. I sent her all of this information and I'm currently waiting for a response. I don't feel bad at all, and feel like she and her husband have a right to know the truth about why I don't have anything to do with my dad, what kind of person he truly is, and what kind of man their daughter is married to and has a child with. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Dang. Please post an update when one becomes available. Will do for sure. I'm sure they are just in absolute shock right now. My dad truly is a master manipulator, and I know he's been feeding them lies this whole time. He was a little too skilled a manipulator for his own good. It seems or looks like his mother-in-law swallowed his poor me act hook, line, and sinker and contacted you behind his back with honest good intent, thinking the poor man was pining after his children cut off from him by the machination of his evil ex-wife, depriving the mother-in-law's granddaughter of having a relationship with her half-siblings. Going to be interesting to see if he can spin his way out of this one. For the wife's and little girl's sake, I hope they see through him at last. This is exactly what I think happened. I know my dad, and the man is very good at what he does. He also doesn't really fit the look or bill for the typical horrible guy or deadbeat father. He is a very conventionally attractive man. I've always thought he resembled Paul Walker or Ryan Phillip, and now he's very successful and makes a lot of money, and can definitely charm the pants off anyone. I can guarantee you if people on here met my dad and then read this post, they would say, "No way he was like this. Are you sure this really happened?" OP, be safe. Don't take any future contact from your dad or the in-laws lightly in the future. Warn your sister and your mom as well. But also good, screw him. Yes, OP, be on guard and do warn your sister and mother. While outing him was the right thing to do, those types never stay quiet when someone exposes them. He has a history of dangerous behavior. He might try to seek some form of revenge. Thank you for your concern. My mom and sister both know about the letter and info I sent. Luckily, we haven't had any contact with him for years, and he doesn't know where we live, but we are still on alert. My mom would beat the living crap out of him now, and I don't think he would have the guts to confront us. Either way, we are definitely on the lookout for any potential backlash from him. And now for the update. I got a letter from the in-laws today. The letter was written by the father-in-law. He started off the letter by apologizing to me for his wife's intrusion of my privacy and for possibly opening up any old ones that he's sure I'd wish to move on from. He went on to say that he and his wife were shocked, devastated, at a loss for words, and feeling like a rug has been pulled out from under them would be the understatement of the century. And that, as you can imagine, this is not the story we have been told the last 5 years. He told me they 1000% believed me. He said that, if being honest, he always thought it was a huge red flag that my dad's highly successful grown children had nothing to do with him and that none of his family seemed to have anything to do with him either. He said that he told his daughter when her and my dad were engaged that she needed to look into this more and possibly reach out because something wasn't right and he felt like he wasn't getting the full story. He told me that when reading my letter, he identified with a lot of my experiences with my dad because his dad was also the same way, and because of that, he had always promised himself he would always take care of his family. He wrote that over the years, he has been tempted to reach out to me to get my side of the story but did not want to be intrusive and felt like it wasn't his place. He mentioned that a lot of what I told them my dad has probably said to them about why we have nothing to do with him is verbatim things he has said to us about why you and your sister don't come around or stand to have anything to do with him. He went on to admit that they are truly at a loss of what to do with this information. He assured me that he and his wife would not let my dad know that this information has been sent to them, and that they are now aware of what kind of monster he truly is underneath his facade. He told me that they see their daughter and granddaughter daily and have not been alerted or seen any signs that any kind of mistreatment is going on, but that he wasn't naive and knows a tiger doesn't change stripes. He said that he and his wife aren't sure if showing their daughter this information is the right thing at this very moment, because they don't think she's at a place to believe it, despite the irrefutable evidence that I included. He said they were afraid she would become defensive and isolate herself from them if she thought they weren't on her and my dad's side. And the last thing they wanted to do was to isolate her and their grandchild with a man who has a history like my dad does. But he said, make no mistake, there will be a day when she's ready to believe this and they will show her. He finished off by once again apologizing to me and said he wanted to know how proud he was of me for sending this to them. He said that one day he hopes his granddaughter can meet her big sisters and can only hope she has half the courage you do. I just wanted to say thank you everyone for your love and support. I honestly did not expect my post to blow up the way it did. I'm truly at a loss for words. I feel like I have finally spoken my piece and have gotten justice from my mom. I'm ready to close this chapter of my life and move on. Man, that father-in-law is truly something else. Go him for that measured and calm response and a promise to keep the info to himself and not out the OP. I can imagine how dangerous that would be. The father-in-law, in just that one letter, was more of a father to Opie than the bio dad ever was. The only thing I didn't like about his message to Opie was that he apologized for his wife, rather than her apologizing herself. Other than that, father-in-law is a wonderful, calm, and honorable man. Their child is only 3 years old, so I desperately hope the grandparents change their mind and try to inform their wife of his history, because this situation genuinely makes me nervous for that child and the wife. He clearly has not changed even the slightest, considering how recently he made such unforgivable comments to Opie. Not to imply that monsters like that ever truly do change. It sounds like they plan to tell her, but the situation is tricky. Worst case scenario, she cuts them off, whether due to being in denial or full-on not believing them, and is left with him, alone. It would be much easier to manipulate and trick her in that scenario, and could cause him to escalate to physical harm. Sounds like they're trying to figure out the best strategy. It's good and all that Opie exposed this horrible father to his wife's parents, but wow, that mother-in-law is a piece herself. Who sees a man who doesn't have a relationship with his other kids, and who doesn't arrange visits with his daughter and thinks, you have a great idea, let me go stalk this grown adult's Facebook so I can shame them for a one-sided story. And then she has her husband reach out to apologize on her behalf? Couldn't even add to the letter herself or message back. Father-in-law sounds like the only one with any kind of responsibility and dignity, besides Opie. Now for the last story. My male 33, wife female 28 threw in my face that I was too busy in prison to be there for my kids. She apologized, but I can't get over it. 6 months ago, I got out of prison after a 7-year sentence. It wasn't my first time, but this was the hardest time because I was away from my family. Thing is, I didn't commit the crime. My wife did. I met my wife 11 years ago. We grew up in a rough area, but she always had a dream to make it out. She wanted to be a nurse, and she never got in trouble. I was the total opposite. Up until I was 23, I was having constant run-ins with the law, and lived every day like it was my last. When my son was born, my perspective shifted. I stopped all that dumb stuff and started settling down. It wasn't the same case for my wife. We sort of switched roles in a way. She wasn't as bad as I was, but she was on that path. She ended up selling with an old partner of mine, and didn't shut it down when I told her to. And as expected, stuff came up in our house, and I took the blame. Why? My wife has never gotten in trouble with the law, and I didn't want both of us to have a record. If I took the blame, it meant that my son wouldn't have to live in this generational cycle of poverty. I wanted her to be a nurse. She was passionate about it, and I felt like I dragged her down with me. So I went to jail. It was harder, since I was leaving my family and my daughter was born while I was in prison. Did a time, and she went on, became a nurse, and they moved to a much better neighborhood. You know, I can't lie and say that there weren't moments where I felt a little resentful, but every time I'd hear my children's happy voices in the back, or they came up to visit me and they were safe and healthy, those resentful thoughts whisk away. Then 3 days ago, my wife and I got into an argument because I took the kids out. It was my only day off, and I wanted to make memories with them. We had a great time, but when we came home, my wife wasn't so thrilled. We were going back and forth a bit, and that's when she told me that I was too busy in prison to understand how things work around here. I could tell that she regretted it as soon as she said it, and she's been apologizing profusely and trying to make it up to me. But wow, I don't know if I could ever forget that. I'm hurt that she even said that, considering the circumstances with everything. Like, it just makes me feel so many things, and I don't know what to do. Do we talk about it? Do I just pretend like I accept what she said? Now for the advice. You have to talk about it. There is no way to just rug sweep it and move on. Ask her to tell you why she's blaming you for not being there when you were the one to go to the prison for her. Does her/your family know you took the fall for her? Yes, they know the basic. The kids don't know. They don't even know why I was in jail. This whole thing is actually really awful. If this is a true story, this woman is nuts and disgusting. Nurses get charged with drug crimes all the time and have to do probationary periods and then monitored practice, but this happens all the time, in every state. She should feel a lot of guilt for having you do 7 years for her. Wow, I wouldn't ever be able to stay with someone that immoral. It's not normal. It really isn't. Something like that would eat me up if I was responsible. And really, someone this dishonest actually has no business dealing with the public in a clinical setting. If her board of nursing found out, they would take her license in a heartbeat, as they should. She does not deserve it. Plus, since she was a first-time offender, the legal consequences for her would likely have been a lot lighter for her compared to OP. Yeah, she wouldn't have done as much time, but it wasn't about a time. It was on it being on her record. None of what the kids have right now would have been possible if she was the one that left. Could I sit here and say that I would have held it down for 2 to 3 years if she left? No, I honestly cannot. I would hope so, but I can't say. I would have been more angry if I went to prison and she still decided to do that garbage. But she didn't. She did a 180, got her degree, and took care of herself and the kids. They would have been raised in a crappy neighborhood with the worst schools and slim opportunities. I mean, my son just won the district science fair last week. Like, what the heck? This is all that I wanted, if not more.